Okay, this is my thoughts, right? Because I have come across some videos uh, trying to define the INTJ. Interesting enough, there is a huge population of people who seem like they could be INTJs denouncing the definition that over time INTJs are going to feel irrelevant. Their thought processes are not going to be needed. Therefore, they're going to fall into depression and they are going to become hostile. And my idea of an INTJ can't get into their feelings that way. It's not a choice in my book, right? And even when I look at my astrology chart, even my moon sign is the sun. Okay? The only water sign that I have in my chart happens to be Scorpio, with Neptune inside of Scorpio. Right? My Pluto, which is supposed to be another water sign, right, is in the sign of Virgo. Is it in the sign of Virgo? Pluto? Anyway, it's not in a water sign. My Pluto is not in a water sign. But I'll check and verify that. I believe it is in Virgo. Okay? So, it's not a bad place for a water planet to reside in the house of an earth sign. However, it's not great. Neptune, which is a water planet, right, in Scorpio, which happens to be a water sign, that's a benefic placement. It's not at home, but, it's nice. All right? But that's it. Right? My moon is in Leo. Right? The moon cannot eclipse the sun. Let's keep it real. All right. I'll say no more on that subject matter. So, in order for me to be an INTJ, I'm not going to be in my feelings. I feel like being an INTJ is definitely verifiable with my water placements in my chart. You can't just assume, oh, you adopted this behavior, you adopted that behavior, you learned this, you learned that. Okay, those are behaviors, but they are not characteristics. Characteristics has to do with your planetary placements that were in place at the time of your birth. Therefore, they're here as part of the ingredients that make up who you are. Right? Now, your behavior can evolve throughout time. Like when you get older, you can't do what you did when you were excitedly experimenting with everything when you were younger. Period. But those are all behaviors. Okay. So, like I said, it's important to actually know your chart, right? Now, some people, they can take a test and they'll say, that, they were depressed, or they were not feeling the same way that other people felt, right? But to know that you're not going to feel the other way that people feel will help you understand that the mere fact that you're even thinking about the way that you felt is the way that most people won't feel. They won't even consider the idea that, most people aren't going to feel the way that they feel. They're going to assume that everybody feels the way that they feel. And that, if they're depressed, then everybody gets depressed, right? And this is the whole projection that we see going on, especially when we start hearing people talk about, we're all one, and, well, no, we're different percentages of the one, right? And I at least divide them into, two. I start out by dividing them into two, right? Are you, a single-minded ego, or are you a plural-minded ego based off of your sun sign? Right? Then your moon sign. Your moon sign is how you feel. Right? If you got a lot of water placements and your moon is in a water sign, you have the tendency to use emotional manipulation. That's just the facts. You're inspired and motivated about the things that you feel. It may not necessarily be the things that you care about, but it is something that drives you. And you could say, well, if it drives you, then you care about it. I have a tendency, to get really analytical when we start talking about the things that we care about. Is not the same thing as our characteristics. I just happen to feel that way. But then I am an INTJ. Now, a lot of us, we're like, no, because once an INTJ gets past thinking about a certain level of thought within a system, right? They move on to the next, right? Because that's the one thing they don't say about an INTJ, is that the INTJ will not stop thinking. Even if an INTJ falls into depression, that INTJ will have a million thought reasons as to why, they're not feeling themselves and that they're feeling low and sad. It will not be the same, as other people who feel depression, right? An INTJ is a person that, if you were to think of them, you would think of them as Atlantis, right? Atlantis is sitting there with the world on his shoulders in thought. That would be the INTJ.